Danny Carter was a simple man who lived a simple life. He worked as a maintenance technician on a space station called Horizon's Edge. The station floated in the darkness of space, far from Earth and far from most other human worlds. Ships came here to refuel and rest before continuing their journeys to distant places. Danny had lived on this station for 7 years. He fixed broken pipes. He repaired electrical systems. He made sure the air filters worked so everyone could breathe. It was not exciting work, but it was honest work. He was good at it. Every day looked the same to Danny. He woke up in his small room. He ate breakfast alone. He went to work. He came back. He ate dinner alone. He slept. And then he did it all again the next day. Danny did not have many friends on the station. He was quiet and kept to himself. Other workers thought he was strange because he did not like to talk much, but Danny was not strange. He was just lonely. He had been lonely for a very long time. One evening, something happened that would change Danny's life forever. It was late and most of the station was quiet. Danny was checking a broken sensor on Deck 7. This was an old part of the station that nobody used anymore. The cargo bays here were empty and covered in dust. The lights flickered and buzzed. It was cold and dark. Danny was walking between two large metal containers when he heard a sound. It was soft, like a whisper. He stopped and listened. There it was again. It sounded like someone crying. Danny followed the sound. He walked slowly, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. He turned a corner and pointed his flashlight into the shadows. What he saw made him freeze. Two figures were huddled together behind a rusted container. They were not human. Their skin was pale blue, almost like the color of a winter sky. Their eyes were large and silver, shining in the light like mirrors. They were thin, very thin. Danny could see their bones pushing against their skin. Danny knew about everyone in the galaxy knew their sad story. 30 years ago, their son had died. It had exploded and destroyed their entire world. Billions of died that day. The ones who survived became refugees. They wandered from place to place, looking for somewhere to call home. Most places did not want them. The two in front of Danny were a mother and a child. The mother held her daughter tightly, her thin arms wrapped around the small body. The child's face was buried in her mother's chest. Both of them were shaking. The mother looked up at Danny with terrified eyes. She expected him to shout. She expected him to call security. She expected him to hurt them. Danny did none of these things. He slowly lowered his flashlight so the beam was not in their eyes. He raised his other hand, palm open, to show he meant no harm. "I am not going to hurt you," he said softly. "Please do not be afraid." The mother did not move. She did not trust him. Why would she? She had probably learned that humans could be cruel. Many species in the galaxy looked down on them. They treated them like pests, like unwanted guests who had overstayed their welcome. Danny took a step back. He wanted to give them space. He wanted them to see that he was not a threat. "Stay here," he said. "I will come back." Danny walked away quickly. His heart was beating fast. He went back to his quarters and looked around. He had some food in his cabinet, just simple things. Meal packs that the station gave to workers, bread, some fruit that he had been saving, a bottle of clean water. He put everything in a bag and hurried back to Deck 7. They were still there. They had not moved. The mother watched Danny approach with fear in her eyes, but there was something else there too. Hope. A tiny spark of hope. Danny set the bag down on the floor. He pushed it gently toward them. "Food," he said, "and water for you and your daughter." The mother stared at the bag. She did not move for a long moment. Then slowly she reached out with a trembling hand. She opened the bag and looked inside. Her silver eyes grew wide. The little girl lifted her head. She saw the food. Her mouth opened slightly. The mother took out a piece of bread. She broke it in half and gave the bigger piece to her daughter. The child ate quickly, stuffing the bread into her mouth like she had not eaten in days. Maybe she had not. Danny watched them eat. He felt a pain in his chest. Not a physical pain, but something deeper. It hurt him to see them like this. It hurt him to know that they had been hiding here, starving, while everyone else on the station went about their normal lives. When they finished eating, the mother looked up at Danny. There were tears in her eyes. "Why?" she asked. Her voice was soft and broken. "Why do you help us?" Danny thought about the question. He did not have a grand answer. He did not have a speech prepared. He only had the truth. "Because you needed help," he said, "and I could give it." The mother lowered her head. A tear rolled down her blue cheek. "Thank you," she whispered. Danny nodded. He did not know what else to say. He stood there for a moment, feeling awkward and unsure. "I have to go back to my work," he said finally. "But I will come again tomorrow. I will bring more food." The mother looked up at him. She seemed like she wanted to say something, but no words came out. She simply nodded. Danny turned and walked away. As he left Deck 7, he looked back one more time. The mother was holding her daughter again, but this time she was not shaking. The fear in her eyes had been replaced by something else. Hope. Danny did not sleep well that night. He kept thinking about the mother and her child. He thought about how thin they were. He thought about how scared they looked. He thought about what would happen to them if someone else found them. He made a decision before the morning came. He would help them, he would feed them, he would keep them safe. He did not know what the future would bring. He did not know if he would get in trouble. He did not know if it would work out. But he knew one thing for certain. He could not walk away. He could not pretend he had not seen them. He could not ignore two starving souls when he had the power to help. Danny Carter was a simple man, but sometimes simple men do extraordinary things. And this was just the beginning. Danny kept his promise. Every day after his work ended, he went to Deck 7. He always brought food and water. Sometimes he brought other things too. Blankets to keep them warm, medicine for when they felt sick, small things that made their hiding place a little more comfortable. The first few weeks were difficult. The mother did not trust Danny. She watched him carefully whenever he came near. She kept her daughter behind her, protecting the child with her own body. She never spoke more than a few words. Danny understood. Trust was not something that could be built in a day. It had to be earned slowly, like building a house one brick at a time. So Danny was patient. He did not push them to talk. He did not ask questions. He simply came, left his gifts, and went away. He let them get used to his presence. He let them see that he was not a threat. Weeks passed. The mother began to relax a little. She no longer flinched when Danny approached. She started to meet his eyes when he spoke. She even said thank you sometimes, her voice still soft and careful. The little girl was the first one to truly open up. One evening, Danny placed a container of warm soup on the ground. He was about to leave when he heard a small voice behind him. "Thank you." Danny turned around. The little girl was looking at him. Her silver eyes were big and bright. She had said only one word, but it was enough. Danny smiled. He crouched down so he was at her level. "You are welcome," he said gently. The girl smiled back. It was a tiny smile, just a little curve of her lips, but it was beautiful. Danny felt warmth spread through his chest. After that day, things changed. The girl started to talk more. She told Danny her name was. She was 8 years old, though her species counted years differently. She liked stories. She liked to draw pictures in the dust with her fingers. She was curious about everything. The mother watched these interactions closely. At first, she seemed worried, but as she saw how gentle Danny was with, her worry faded. One night, she finally told Danny her name. "I am," she said. "Hello," Danny replied. "I am Danny." Almost smiled, almost. Over the following weeks, began to share pieces of her story. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully. It was clear that remembering was painful for her. She and had been passengers on a transport ship. They were traveling to a colony world that accepted refugees. It was supposed to be a new beginning for them, a chance to start over. But raiders had attacked the ship, bad people who wanted to steal everything valuable. The ship was destroyed. Most of the passengers died and escaped in a small cargo pod. They drifted in space for many days, thought they would die out there, floating in the cold darkness forever. But a salvage crew found them. These were people who searched for broken ships and valuable scraps to sell. They picked up and, at first, thought they were saved. She was wrong. The salvage crew did not care about them. They only cared about money. When the crew came to Horizon's edge, they saw security guards searching ships for illegal goods. They got scared. They did not want to get caught with undocumented aliens on their ship. So they dumped and on Deck 7. They left them there like garbage and flew away. That was 3 weeks before Danny found them. Danny listened to this story in silence. His hands were clenched into fists. He was angry at the raiders who had attacked. He was angry at the salvage crew who had abandoned them. He was angry at a galaxy that could be so cruel to innocent people. "I am sorry," Danny said when finished. "I am so sorry that happened to you." Shook her head. "It is not your fault. You did not do those things." "No," Danny agreed, "but I am still sorry. You did not deserve any of it." Was quiet for a moment. Then she asked the question that had been on her mind for a long time. "Why do you keep coming here, Danny? Why do you help us? Humans and we are not friends. Your people do not like us. We are refugees. We are nothing." Danny looked at her seriously. "You are not nothing. You are a mother who loves her daughter, is a child who deserves a chance to grow up. That is not nothing. That is everything." Silver eyes filled with tears. She turned away quickly, not wanting Danny to see her cry. "Among my people," she said quietly, "kindness is sacred. When someone shows true kindness, we do not forget. We carry it in our hearts forever." Danny did not know what to say. He was not used to being thanked so deeply. He was just doing what felt right. Walked over and took Danny's hand. Her small fingers were cool and delicate. "Danny is good," she said simply. "Danny is our friend." Danny smiled at her. "Yes, I am your friend." As the days went on, Danny noticed changes in both of them, was gaining weight. Her cheeks were filling out. She laughed more often. She ran around the cargo bay, playing imaginary games and making up stories. Was changing too. The dark circles under her eyes were fading. She stood. She smiled more. She started to look like someone who believed she might survive. Danny found himself looking forward to his visits. His work days, which used to feel long and boring, now passed quickly. He was always thinking about what he would bring them next, what stories he would tell, what conversations he would have with. For the first time in many years, Danny did not feel lonely. One night, as Danny was leaving, called out to him. "Danny." He stopped and turned. "Yes." Walked toward him. She looked nervous, like she was about to say something important. "You have given us so much," she said. "Food, water, safety. I do not know how to repay you." Danny shook his head. "You do not need to repay me. I do not want anything from you." Reached out and took his hand. Her touch was gentle and warm. "Then let me give you this," she said. "In my language there is a word. It means the one who saves, the one who brings light in darkness. That is what you are to us, Danny. You are our." Danny felt something shift inside him, something he had not felt in a very long time. Purpose, meaning, connection. He squeezed his hand gently. "Thank you," he said. "That means more to me than you know." He walked back to his quarters that night with a lightness in his step. The station was still cold and quiet. His room was still small and empty, but somehow none of that mattered anymore. Danny had found something worth caring about. He had found people who needed him, and in helping them, he had started to heal something broken inside himself. He did not know what the future would bring. He did not know how long he could keep this secret. But right now, in this moment, everything felt right. And that was enough. Danny knew he was taking a big risk. Every day that passed, the danger grew. Secrets were hard to keep on a space station. People talked. People noticed things. And Danny was not being as careful as he should have been. He was taking extra food from the cafeteria. He was staying late in parts of the station where he had no reason to be. He was spending credits on supplies that a single man living alone should not need. Someone was going to notice. It was only a matter of time. That someone was Gary Price. Gary was Danny's supervisor. He was a large man with a hard face and cold eyes. He did not like Danny. He thought Danny was strange and difficult. Gary was the kind of person who followed rules without question. He believed that order was more important than kindness. He believed that people who broke rules deserved to be punished. One afternoon, Gary called Danny into his office. "Sit down, Carter," Gary said, pointing to a chair. Danny sat. He tried to keep his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. Gary leaned forward and put his hands on the desk. He stared at Danny with suspicious eyes. "I have been watching you," Gary said. "Something is wrong. You are acting different. You take extra food. You go to Deck 7 every night. You spend money on things I cannot explain. What are you hiding?" Danny's mind raced. He needed to think of something, a lie, an excuse, anything. "I am not hiding anything," Danny said. "I just like to eat more these days, and I go to Deck 7 to check on some old equipment. There are sensors there that sometimes break." Gary narrowed his eyes. "Sensors, really?" "Yes." Gary was silent for a long moment. Danny could feel sweat forming on his back. "I do not believe you," Gary said finally, "but I cannot prove anything. Yet, I want you to know that I am watching you, Carter. If you are doing something wrong, I will find out, and when I do, there will be consequences." Danny nodded slowly, understood. He left Gary's office with his legs feeling weak. That had been too close. Gary was suspicious now. He would be watching Danny's every move. That night, Danny went to Deck 7 with a heavy heart. When he arrived, could tell immediately that something was wrong. "What happened?" she asked. "You look troubled." Danny sat down on a crate. He rubbed his face with his hands. "My supervisor knows something is wrong," Danny said. "He does not know about you yet, but he suspects I am hiding something. He is watching me now." His face went pale. Fear returned to her eyes. She pulled close. "What will happen if they find us?" she asked quietly. Danny did not want to answer, but deserved the truth. "The station has strict rules," he said. "If they find people without proper documents, they send them away. There are refugee processing centers on other stations and planets. They say these places are safe, but the stories I have heard are not good. Overcrowding, sickness, people waiting for years with no hope." Closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "I cannot let go to such a place," she whispered. "She has already suffered so much." Looked up at her mother with worried eyes. "Mama, what is wrong? Are we going to be okay?" Forced a smile. "Yes, my love, everything will be okay," but her voice shook when she said it. Danny stood up. He walked over to them and knelt down so he could look in the eyes. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I am not going to let anything bad happen to you, I promise." Nodded slowly. She believed him. Children have a way of knowing when adults mean what they say. That night Danny could not sleep. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. His mind was spinning with thoughts and worries. He needed to find a solution, a real solution. He could not keep hiding and forever. Sooner or later someone would find them, and then it would be too late. Danny got up and went to his computer terminal. He started searching through databases and legal documents. He read about immigration laws and refugee policies. He read about the rights of displaced species. He read until his eyes hurt and his head ached. And then he found something. There was an old law in the Galactic Humanitarian Code. It was called the Residential Sponsorship Provision. It said that a citizen of a recognized world could sponsor refugees. This meant taking legal responsibility for them, providing them with shelter, food, and support, helping them become members of society. If someone did this, the refugees could stay. They would not be sent to processing centers. They would be protected. Danny read the requirements carefully. The sponsor had to prove they could provide for the refugees. They needed a stable job and income. They needed a place to live. They needed to pass background checks and interviews. It was not easy. It was expensive. It would take months of paperwork and waiting. But it was possible. Danny felt hope rising in his chest. This could work. This could actually work. But there were problems. The application required a lot of money. Fees for processing, fees for legal help, fees for medical checks. Danny did not have enough savings. He would need to work extra shifts. He would need to stop spending money on anything except the basics. And even then, it might not be enough. There was another problem too. Gary. If Gary found out what Danny was doing before the sponsorship was approved, he could report and everything would fall apart. Danny closed his computer and lay back down. The path ahead was difficult and dangerous. One wrong move could ruin everything. But Danny had made a promise. He had looked in the eyes and promised to keep them safe. He was not going to break that promise. The next day, Danny started his plan. He worked longer hours. He took extra shifts. He stopped buying things for himself. Every credit he earned went into a savings account. He was more careful when visiting Deck 7. He took different routes each time. He checked to make sure nobody was following him. He kept his visits short so Gary would not notice he was missing. Weeks passed. The savings grew slowly. Danny was tired all the time. His body ached from overwork. But every time he felt like giving up, he thought about Smile. He thought about tears of gratitude. He thought about the word she had called him. The one who saves. Danny was not going to let them down. One night noticed how tired Danny looked. There were dark circles under his eyes. His shoulders were slumped. "You are hurting yourself for us," she said softly. "This is too much." Danny shook his head. "It is nothing, I am fine." "You are not fine, I can see it." Danny looked at her. He was too tired to pretend. "I found a way," he said. "A legal way to help you, but it takes time and money. I am working hard to make it happen." His eyes widened. "A legal way, you mean?" "I mean I can sponsor you, both of you. You could stay here legally. You would not have to hide anymore." Stared at him in shock. She could not speak. Tugged on Danny's sleeve. "What does that mean, Danny?" Danny smiled at her. "It means you might get to live a normal life, little one. Go to school. Make friends, be happy." His face lit up like a star. "Really?" "Really, but it will take time. We have to be patient." Finally found her voice. Tears were streaming down her face. "You would do this for us. You would take responsibility for us. We are strangers. We are aliens. Why?" Danny reached out and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. "You are not strangers anymore," he said. "You are family." Broke down and cried, but these were not tears of sadness. They were tears of hope. And hope, Danny knew, was the most powerful thing in the universe. 3 months had passed since Danny first found and hiding in the cargo bay. In that time, everything had changed. Danny had saved enough money to begin the sponsorship application. He had filled out dozens of forms. He had gathered all the documents he needed. He had even found a lawyer who agreed to help him for a reduced fee. But the hardest part was still ahead. Tonight, Danny walked to Deck 7 with a data pad in his hand. His heart was pounding in his chest. He had been thinking about this moment for weeks. He had practiced what he would say. But now that the time had come, he was nervous. When he arrived, ran up to greet him. She had grown so much in 3 months. Her cheeks were round and healthy. Her silver eyes sparkled with joy. She hugged Danny's leg tightly. "Danny, you came." Danny laughed and patted her head. I always come, little one. Walked over more slowly. She had changed too. She no longer looked like a starving refugee. She looked like a woman who had hope for the future. There was color in her blue skin. There was strength in her movements. Hello, Danny, she said with a soft smile. Hello. Ran off to play with a small toy Danny had brought her last week. Danny and sat down on some crates nearby. The cargo bay was quiet except for the sound of humming a little song. Danny looked at the data pad in his hands. His throat felt dry. I need to talk to you about something, he said. Tilted her head. What is it? Danny took a deep breath. This was it, no turning back now. I told you I found a way to help you legally, the residential sponsorship. I have been working on it for months, saving money, getting documents ready, and now I am ready to submit the application. Listened carefully. Her silver eyes were fixed on Danny's face. But there is something I have not told you, Danny continued. Something important. He handed her the data pad. On the screen was the sponsorship application. His name was at the top. Below it were two other names, of the and of the. If you agree to this, Danny said, you would come live with me, legally, officially. You would not be refugees hiding in a cargo bay. You would be residents of this station, protected by law. Stared at the screen. Her hands were trembling. But this means, she started then stopped. It means I would be responsible for you, Danny said. For both of you, I would have to provide for you, take care of you, make sure you have everything you need. It is a big commitment, I know that. Looked up at him. Her eyes were shining with tears. Danny, do you understand what you are asking? This is not a small thing. You would be bound to us. Your life would change completely. You are a single man. You live alone. Why would you want this burden? Danny had expected this question. He had thought about it many times, and now he finally had the right words. Let me tell you something, he said quietly. Before I met you and my life was empty. I worked, I ate, I slept. That was all. I had no friends. I had no family. I had no reason to wake up in the morning except that my body kept breathing. He paused and looked at, who was still playing happily nearby. Then I found you, and everything changed. Suddenly I had a reason to care about tomorrow. I had people who needed me. I had someone waiting for me at the end of each day. For the first time in years, I felt alive. He turned back to, you are not a burden to me. You are a gift, both of you. And I do not want to go back to the empty life I had before. I want you to come live with me. Not because I feel sorry for you, but because I care about you, because you are my family now. Was silent for a long moment. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She did not wipe them away. Among my people, she said finally, there is a bond called, it is deeper than friendship, deeper than marriage. It is when two souls choose to become family, not by blood but by choice. It is the most sacred bond we have. She reached out and took Danny's hand. Her skin was cool and soft. If I accept this, you would become my chosen family, and I would become yours. This bond cannot be broken. It lasts until death and beyond. Danny squeezed her hand gently. I would be honored. Let out a small laugh through her tears. You do not even know what you are agreeing to. Then tell me. Smiled. It was the most beautiful smile Danny had ever seen. Means we belong to each other. We share our joys and our sorrows. We protect each other. We never abandon each other. In the eyes of my people, we would be family, true family, forever. Danny felt warmth spread through his chest. That sounds exactly like what I want. Stopped playing and walked over. She looked at her mother's tearful face with concern. Mama, why are you crying? Is something wrong? Laughed and pulled into a hug. No, my love, nothing is wrong, everything is right. Danny has asked us to come live with him, to be his family. His eyes went wide. She looked at Danny with amazement. Really, we can live with Danny, in a real home? Yes, Danny said, nodding. A real home. with real beds and real windows and real food, no more hiding in the dark. Squealed with joy. She jumped at Danny and wrapped her arms around his neck. Danny laughed and hugged her back. "Thank you, Danny. Thank you, thank you, thank you." Danny held her close. Over her shoulder he saw watching them. There was love in her eyes, love and gratitude and something else, something that looked like peace. When finally let go, stood up and approached Danny. She placed her hand over his heart. Her touch was gentle and warm. "In the old traditions of my people, this is how we seal the bond of heart to heart, soul to soul." She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. They stood there for a moment in silence. Danny felt something pass between them, something he could not explain. It was like a door opening in his heart, a door he did not know existed. When stepped back, she was smiling. "It is done," she said. "You are mine now, Danny Carter. You are family." Danny smiled back, "And you are mine." That night Danny stayed longer than usual. They talked about the future, about what would happen when the sponsorship was approved, about where they would live, about what would do when she could finally go to school. Fell asleep with her head in Danny's lap, sat next to him, leaning against his shoulder. The cargo bay was cold and dark, but Danny felt warmer than he had in years. "Are you scared?" asked quietly. "A little," Danny admitted. "There is still a lot that could go wrong. Gary is still watching me. The application could be, anything could happen. But you are still willing to try." Danny looked down at his peaceful face. He thought about all the years he had spent alone, all the empty days and lonely nights. He thought about how much he had changed since meeting these two people. "Yes," he said firmly, "I am willing to try, because some things are worth fighting for." Nodded, she closed her eyes and relaxed against him. "Then we will fight together," she said softly. "Whatever comes, we will face it as a family." Danny put his arm around her and held her close. Outside, the stars sparkled in the endless darkness of space, but inside this forgotten cargo bay there was light, there was warmth, there was love. And that was enough to face any challenge that lay ahead. Danny looked up at the distant stars through a small window. He had spent so many years drifting through life without purpose. Now he had found something to hold on to, something to live for. He had found his family. And he was never going to let them go. The sponsorship process took 6 long months, 6 months of waiting, 6 months of worry, 6 months of hopping and praying that everything would work out. Danny had submitted all the paperwork. He had gone through interviews with immigration officials. He had opened his life for inspection. They looked at his work history. They looked at his finances. They looked at his criminal record, which was clean. They asked him why a single human man wanted to sponsor 2 refugees. Danny told them the truth. He said he had found them starving and alone. He said he had helped them because it was the right thing to do. He said he cared about them. He said they were family. Some officials looked at him with suspicion. Others looked at him with respect. But in the end, after all the checks and all the questions, they approved his application. On the day Danny received the approval notice, he ran to Deck 7 faster than he had ever run before. He burst into the cargo bay with the biggest smile on his face. "It happened," he shouted. "They approved it, you are free." And stared at him in shock, then screamed with joy and ran into his arms, followed, wrapping her arms around both of them. For a long moment they just held each other. 3 people from different worlds, brought together by chance and held together by love. Tears flowed freely, but these were tears of happiness. "We are free," whispered. "We are really free." "Yes," Danny said, his voice thick with emotion. "You never have to hide again." The next few days were a blur of activity. Danny registered and at the station's residential office. He got them identification cards. He added their names to his living quarters. Everything was official now. Everything was legal. The first time and walked through the station's main corridors, they were terrified. They had spent so long hiding in the shadows. Being out in the open felt strange and scary. But Danny walked beside them, holding his hand. When people stared, he stared right back. When someone made a rude comment about aliens, Danny stepped in front of and told the person to mind their own business. Not everyone on the station was happy about what Danny had done. Gary Price certainly was not. He confronted Danny in the hallway one day, his face red with anger. "You broke the rules for months," Gary growled. "You hid illegal aliens on the station. You lied to me." Danny stood tall. He did not flinch. "I helped two people who were starving and afraid," Danny said calmly. "I followed my conscience, and now everything is legal. The immigration office approved my sponsorship. There is nothing you can do." Gary's hands curled into fists. For a moment, Danny thought the man might hit him, but Gary just glared and walked away. Some of Danny's thought he was foolish. They whispered behind his back. They said he was crazy for taking on such a burden. They said he would regret it. But not everyone felt that way. Some people came up to Danny and shook his hand. They said they admired what he had done. They said the galaxy needed more people like him. Danny did not care what anyone thought. He had done what he believed was right. That was all that mattered. Life settled into a new routine. Danny's quarters, which had always felt too big and too empty, were now filled with life. His laughter echoed off the walls. His cooking filled the air with strange and wonderful smells. There was noise and movement and chaos, and Danny loved every moment of it. Started attending the station's education center. On her first day, she was nervous and scared. The other children stared at her. Some of them pointed and whispered. Were rare on this station. Most of the children had never seen one before. But was brave. She walked into the classroom with her head held high. And by the end of the week, she had made her first friend. A human girl named Lily who thought silver eyes were beautiful. When came home that day and told Danny about her new friend, he felt tears prick his eyes. This was what he had hoped for. This was why he had fought so hard. Found work too. The station's communications hub needed translators who could speak multiple alien languages, was fluent in 7 languages, including several that were rare and valuable. She quickly became one of the best translators on the station. For the first time in many years, had purpose. She had value. She was not just a refugee begging for scraps. She was a professional doing important work. One evening, as the 3 of them sat together for dinner, looked at Danny with her bright silver eyes. "Danny," she said, "are you our family now?" Danny looked at. She was watching him with a soft, hopeful expression. He remembered the bond they had formed. Chosen family. "Yeah," Danny said, his voice warm and certain. "I am your family, and you are mine." Smiled so wide it looked like her face might split in two. She jumped out of her chair and ran around the table to hug Danny. "I love you, Danny," she said. Danny felt his heart swell. He hugged her back tightly. "I love you too." Reached across the table and took Danny's hand. She did not say anything. She did not need to. Her eyes said everything. After dinner, Danny stood by the viewport in his quarters and looked out at the stars. So much had changed in the past year. He had gone from a lonely man with an empty life to someone with a family, someone with purpose, someone with love. Came to stand beside him. She followed his gaze out into the endless darkness of space. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Danny smiled. "I was thinking about how strange life is. A year ago, I was invisible. I woke up every day and wondered what the point was. I had nothing to live for." He turned to look at her. "And then I found you, 2 strangers hiding in a cargo bay, and suddenly everything made sense." Leaned against him. "You saved us, Danny. You gave us hope when we had none. You gave us a home when we had nothing. We owe you everything." Danny shook his head. "You do not owe me anything. You gave me just as much as I gave you, maybe more." Ran over and squeezed between them, wrapping her arms around both of their waists. "Family hug," she announced. Danny and laughed. They bent down and wrapped their arms around in each other. Three people holding on to each other in the vastness of space. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched on forever. Billions of lights in the darkness. Billions of worlds. Billions of stories. But right now, in this small room on an ordinary space station, there was only one story that mattered. The story of a man who found a starving mother and daughter. The story of kindness that grew into love. The story of strangers who became family. It was not a big story. It would not be remembered by history. No songs would be sung about it. No monuments would be built. But it mattered. It mattered to Danny. It mattered too. It mattered too. And sometimes the stories that matter most are the small ones, the quiet ones, the ones about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Danny Carter was a simple man who had lived a simple life, but he had learned something important, something that changed everything. He had learned that kindness was never wasted, that love could grow in the most unexpected places, that family was not about blood or species or origin. Family was about choice. Family was about care. Family was about showing up day after day and saying, "I am here. I will not leave you." Danny held his family close and watched the stars. He was not alone anymore. And he never would be again.